So in our previous lecture under the topic of exception handling, we were trying to explore the usage of the finally keyword inside in Java programming, and we have seen that there are basically three cases in which we are going to put or we can put a finally keyword. The case one was where an exception does not occur at all. The case 2 says whereas an exception occurs but not handled by the catch block, and the case 3 says when an exception occurs and is handled by the catch block, and is all these three scenarios are basically we can say shown in this flow chart which we have seen earlier also. And in the previous lecture we have seen the first scenario, that the usage of finally we have seen in the scenario when your exception is not at all being raised. And here is the program. Let us take a quick look. Try as having no such statement inside which is susceptible of throwing the null pointer exception which is being caught by the catch thing, and then the value of the data which is obviously going to be 5.0, and the statement which is written inside the finally, which is finally block is always executed, and finally the system.out.println which says rest of the code. These statements are going to be we can say printed or executed. Coming to the scenario 2, where the code throws an exception and the catch block which is available inside the program cannot handle it. Despite this, the finally block is executed after the try block, and then the program terminates abnormally. Now please try to understand this situation. There is a try block which is going to throw an exception, but the catch block is not able to handle it. Then what will happen in this scenario? Your program is supposed to be terminate abnormally. That is going to happen, but that will happen if the finally block is there. That will happen after the finally block. That means even if your catch block cannot handle the thrown exception, the finally block is first executed after the try block, of course, and then the program terminates abnormally. Let us see this with the help of an example. So here we have again that similar class test finally block, and within the main within the main method, which is our public static void main, we have one try statement which is throwing an exception divide by 0. Now divide by 0 exception is going to be kind of handled by arithmetic exception, but here you will find an kind of a mismatched catch, and that is a kind of deliberate effort in order to show this case scenario 2. So that catch says null pointer exception E. So this divide by 0 error or this divide by 0 exception is definitely not going to be handled by this null pointer exception. That means the catch block which is placed inside the program is not able to handle the exception thrown. And after this catch block, please notice the occurrence of finally, where finally says system.out.println finally block is always executed, and then there is kind of rest of the code. So whenever we are going to kind of we can say compile and run this program, this is going to be the output. That means the first thing which is the exception which is thrown by the try is going to be there, and as the catch which is available is not able to handle the we can say exception thrown, but even then finally a block will always be executed, and it will say finally block is always executed, and then the program terminates abnormally before going into the rest of the code statement. So rest of the code statement is not going to be there, because it is the program has to terminate abnormally. But even before this abnormal termination of the program, the system ensures the execution of the finally, and here you can see this this in the output, that the finally block is always executed, and then the program the termination of the program by saying that so and so particular exception has been kind of java.lang dot arithmetic exception divide by 0 and so on and so forth. So that is there. So this is what this was actually the case scenario 2, and the case scenario 3 says that the Java code throws an exception, the catch block which is available is able to handle the exception, but then also the finally block is executed after the try and after the catch block. And further, because the exception is being handled by the catch block successfully, the rest of the code is also executed normally. But in the previous, which was the case scenario 2, as the catch block was not able to handle the exception, rest of the code was not executed normally. And here is the program which is shown on the screen for this corresponding to this case scenario 3. So here we have a try block, obviously within the main function we have a try block which is first printing inside try block, then it is calculating one data which is of type obviously integer, and it is a divide by 0 thing. So 25 divided by 0 and system.out.println data. So this particular line, as you all are aware, is going to throw a divide by 0 exception, and this divide by 0 exception will be handled by the arithmetic exception thing E, then system.out.println exception handled, and the details of E will be printed inside the catch block. And after this catch block we have a finally thing which says finally block is always executed, and then system.out.println rest of the code. So whenever we are going to compile this particular code, how it is going to behave or how it is going to run. So this first thing says inside try block this statement will be printed. The very next statement, which is available integer data is equals to 25 by 0, is going to throw an arithmetic exception which is precisely a divide by 0 exception, which is being handled by the catch block. After the control being transferred to the catch block, system.out.println exception handled will be printed. The contents of the object E will be printed by the virtue of the statement system.out.println E, and after this the finally is going to be kind of executed, because finally is there for all the three scenarios. So it will say system.out.println finally block is always executed, and because the catch here is able to kind of handle the arithmetic exception which is being thrown by the try block, the system.out.println statement which says rest of the code will also be executed. So in all, and this is kind of we can say will be the output of the program. So in all the three scenarios, whether your exception is being raised or not raised, even if it is raised, whether it is being handled by the catch block or not being handled by the catch block, in both the scenarios. So overall the total on all the three scenarios, finally block will be executed. The only thing which is kind of getting differentiated is about how the program terminates. If there is no exception, the program terminates normally after this finally execution. If there is a catch block and that catch block is not being able to handle the exception, after the finally thing the program terminates abnormally. If catch block is able to handle the exception, after the finally the program terminates not abnormally, but we can say normal situation exit will be there. So these are the three scenarios in which we are going to use the finally. And finally, in order to we can say sum up, we can say that finally should have all the cleanup code or all the code which is actually necessarily necessary to be executed, because finally is going to be executed or implemented in any of the scenario, irrespective of the catch is able to handle it or not handle it. Now coming to the next keyword. So till this point we have seen try, we have seen nested tries within the catch. We have seen multiple catch with one particular try. Then we have also seen the usage of finally thing. Now we are going to come to the two keywords which are left. One is throw and another one is throws. One is throw, another one is throws. Now what is the difference between these two keywords? How are these two keywords are going to be used? That we will explore in in this lectures and also in one of our upcoming lectures. So let us begin with the keyword throw. Now exceptions, if you can see, they allow a programmer to write clean codes which are kind of exiting in a clean manner, even if there are errors which are checked at the compile time instead of runtime. So exception, yes, I agree, are checked at the runtime, but even if there are errors which are to be checked or which are checked at the compile time, exception allows a programmer to write a decent good quality codes where these compile time exceptions can also be handled. And one can also create in another scenario, one can also create custom exceptions, making the code recovery and debugging easier. Now what kind of custom exceptions I am talking about? So custom exceptions, let us say for example my programming application is about a voting mechanism, and if the age entered is less than 18, I am going to kind of raise a particular exception. So these kind of exceptions which are not the standard exceptions, but are dependent on the application scenario, or custom exceptions. Now here for these type of scenarios, when we actually want to throw an exception explicitly or depending upon the demand of our application program, the keyword which is used is throw, and we spell it as throw. So we says the Java throw keyword is used to throw an exception explicitly, and it is going to specify the exception object which is to be thrown. The exception normally has some message through which it is going to provide a description of the error which is being occurred to the user, or to the application programmer, or to the application users, we can say. And what kind of these exceptions could be? These exceptions could be related to any of the user inputs, as I have given you an example that age less than 18 may throw an exception if our application demands it. Then these exceptions may be related to some kind of server errors or something of that sort. Now in our previous lecture we have also seen that these Java exceptions are basically out of two types. One is the checked exception and another one is the unchecked exception. So here the throw keyword is actually being used for both of the scenarios. That means one can throw either the checked or the unchecked exceptions in Java by using this throw keyword. This throw keyword, if you can see, is mainly or prominently, we can say generally used to throw a custom exception. Now custom exception, as I told you, is something which a user or which an application programmer can define. It's his own set of conditions, it's his own set of conditions, and one can throw an exception explicitly using the throw keyword if that particular condition is not being fulfilled. As I have given you an example of less than 18 or that age example. The another example for this custom exception could be if we divide a number by 0, we have an arithmetic exception. Now let us say we want to throw an arithmetic exception not only on the division of 0, but maybe if we divide a particular number by let us say 3, our application demands something of that sort, that if we divide a number by 3, then an arithmetic exception could be thrown. So, in this type of scenarios also the keyword throw is actually a savior for us. So, here we just need to set the condition and throw the exception using the throw keyword by for a particular for that particular scenario, we can say. Now, if we talk about throwing the unchecked exception, as we have seen, we can create a method which is named as validate or verify, that accepts an integer as a parameter, and that integer is regarded as age. If the age is less than 18, throwing the arithmetic exception, otherwise it is going to print a particular message. So, here let us see this with the help of an example. So, we have started with a public class test throw. Inside that class test throw, please notice that as of now inside this class we do not have main method. Main method is yet to come into the scene. Then we have public static void method which is named as validate, and it is accepting an parameter, integer parameter as an argument, and that parameter is named as age, and if age is less than 18, we are going to throw an arithmetic exception that this particular person is not eligible to vote. So, how are we going to use that, how are we going to throw that arithmetic exception? With the help of the keyword throw, and it is simple. We have seen we have written throw new arithmetic exception, and whatever the message whatever the appropriate message we want to give to the user, and here in this case we have written person is not eligible to vote, else we are going to print the person is eligible to vote. So, this is what my validate method is. This validate method is actually taking one particular number, checking that number. If that number is less than 18, it is throwing a new arithmetic exception with a new message. If it is not so, then it is printing a simple message that person is eligible to vote. Now, the question comes up that this was kind of one particular validate method. How are we going to use this validate method inside our main method? So, here within that similar class which is the public class test throw, one method which we have seen till this point is the validate method, as I have already explained, and another method within the similar class we have public static void, our main method, and this main method has called this function validate, and the parameter which is being passed here is nothing but 13. Now, what will happen here? And after that obviously we have system.out.println rest of the code. Now, what will happen here? So, as you all are aware that the execution is started with the main method. This validate 13 will call that validate function. 13 will will be passed as the value of the parameter age. Now, as this is less than 18, this is deliberately or explicitly going to throw an arithmetic exception, and the arithmetic exception will not print the standard description. Instead, it will print the description which is being given here, which says person is not eligible to vote. That is going to be printed, and then here we also have one more statement which says rest of the code. Here if you can see, this will be the output which says the exception is being thrown that the person is not eligible to vote, and this is going to be the whole kind of output as I explained. So, here in this code we have seen that using the throw keyword we have thrown an unchecked exception. Similarly, we can also use this throw keyword in order to generate, or in order to raise, or in order to throw the checked exception, also the user defined exception. If we are going to throw a checked exception using the throw keyword, there are two conditions. One is It is must to handle the exception using catch block, or the method must declare it using the throws declaration. So, here in this lecture, till this point we have seen the two case scenarios of the finally of the usage of the finally keyword, and also we have seen one use case of the throw keyword, in which the throw for unchecked exception is being used. Here is a list of references which is being used for the preparation of lecture. In the upcoming lecture, we will be continuing with the more usage of this throw keyword. Also, we will explore the keyword throws. Till then, take care. Goodbye.